Light bulb.
Yes. Fundex. Yes. I'm going to turn it off, but I'm going to run it. And this is the pedal. All right. Turn it back on.
Sounds like a meat grinder.
And I'll just...
Oh yeah.
It's fine. It runs. It pulled it through. It did the whole trick. There's no bob in here, so it didn't sew anything.
Right.
But it wouldn't, because the only thing it's in is the bottom piece, the bobbin rather. There's no spool of thread here. But everything basically works. I mean, I don't know what else is.
But you said the hand knob is the part that seemed to be having difficulty.
You mean the big knob on the end here?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, it turns like crazy. Like if I run it, it's going like crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing. Okay. You can see the needle. Any advice you can give me is great. You want me to just show you what I see?
Show me what you see. If you can, yeah.
I'll put this in here, and I've got the foot pedal here.
Yeah. Okay, so it's sewing nicely. Okay. So, so you know the sewing machine handle, the manual one?
The big one on the end here, yep.
There's an inner handle and an outer handle.
Yes.
So the inner handle is supposed to be able to rotate towards you to disengage the sewing foot so that the bobbin can load at the top.
Oh, so the inner knob should not be moving at the same rate as the other one. It should be free to turn itself.
It should be free to turn itself if you want to. You have to hold the big one and then manually turn the other one to disengage.
Okay, so that you can turn the inner one counterclockwise relative to the outer one when facing it.
Exactly.
Okay, let me have a look. Okay, it will turn.
Okay, so now the sewing foot is not disengaged.
Okay, so in other words, the needle should not move up and down?
It should not move up and down because when you press the foot pedal with the inner wheel disengaged, turned towards you, then what happens is the bobbin whirls up at the top.
Here? Oh, sorry.
No, on your right. Yeah, there's two. Yeah, there. The one is for the full. That where you've had your finger first is where you put the main reel of cotton, and
right.
Then one of the other little ones is where you put the bobbin, and it'll fill it nicely.
Okay.
But it's that inner wheel that is jammed onto the outer wheel.
Okay, because the inner wheel is free. Like I've got it free separately.
Have you?
Yes.
And it's still making the foot go up and down. So
yes.
That means that the top, I think, is not going to load for me.
Now the outer one, when I turn the outer one, because they are independent, the needle doesn't go up and down. I'm turning the outer one down.
Oh.
So the outer one is free.
So maybe it's reverse from what I thought.
Possibly. The inner one is certainly, if I turn the inner one, the needle goes up and down. You can see that.
Yes.
The outer one, when I disengage it, the outer one, now I'm turning the outer one clockwise and it doesn't move the needle.
Oh, okay. So maybe that was just my problem, is I kept trying to turn the inner one.
Right. I think the other one is fine. It's disengaged. I can feel clearly that it's disengaged.
Right. And then, okay, perfect. So in fact, what you've done is you've educated me. Thank you.
No problem. No problem. I was wondering what the issue was, and this is why doing these repair cafes this way is the only way to do it now, is to have the user here, because normally you're sitting 3 feet from me on the other side of the table.
Yes.
We'd have
Yes.
this over with in a matter of moments.
Yes.
This is not the first time. We've had this problem quite a few times when people bring in machines, and there is a lot of confusion, and we're totally inept at understanding it, but we're mechanical, so we get through the process.
Yes.
Now, if I run it right now, the needle, it's running, I'm applying power, the needle is not going up and down. Definitely the needle is disengaged. The outer wheel is turning, but the inner one's not. So this is how you would load the bobbin.
That's right.
And then if I turn it to the right again,
Yeah.
it's back in gear.
It's back in gear.
That's the outer one.
Yeah. Oh, well.
This is how we get through it.
This is exactly how we learn. We had a very fine lady who gave us a sewing machine repair manual and several boxes of parts. I've got tons of parts here. I've actually got probably several hundred parts. And I've got a book which says this is how you fix a sewing machine, but I don't know how they work. So any education I get is a benefit to us.
Well, that's just like brilliant and totally cool. Yeah.
It is great. It is great. I love doing this. We both do. We have been deprived for 8 months or whatever of fun, because it's fun to do this, and it's so much fun to do it with other people. By the way, I'm over here. You can't see.
No, I can't see you. I can just see Wayne.
I'm just
I
off
can see
stage.
your hand. It's
That's
just
right.
about the hand. Never mind the rest.
Talk to the hand. That's it. The other thing I noticed about this machine is it's really nice and clean. It's in beautiful shape.
Oh, good. Well, I do want to carry on using it. You know, there are little glitches to it, like the stitch thing doesn't change. You know, I can't change the size of the stitches, and I can't do fancy stitches, but I don't need that.
Have you got the book?
I don't have the book. I looked online for the book.
Because I couldn't find a model number, but there's a whole bunch that look just like this.
Yeah, I think it's, I think so. I think it was just the generic thing back in the day when Sears was still alive.
Yes. Well, I think it's from the 80s. Myself, I think it's from the mid 80s. It's certainly that vintage.
Okay, yeah.
The plastic is that vintage. I think I can find the manual for you online. I didn't find a model number. I searched this thing for a model number and I couldn't find it, but it looks a lot like a model 1320.
Okay.
There is a place online, some very altruistic gentleman or gentlewoman has placed a site, something, it sounds like manualsonline.com. And there's thousands upon thousands of manuals, and they're free to download.
Oh, wow.
So you can get a PDF. Now, if you could find your PDF, I think you would find that possibly that there's an adjustment that could be made to make the thing work with your dimensioning of your stitches.
Okay. I'll look that up. Hang on. I just got to write that down.
Well, let me see if I'm right. Let me just immediately go look at my my online here.
Okay. See you, Wayne.
Yep. Good to see you all.
Take care. Bye.
Bye for now. So this is the peely stuff. You know, everybody knows this peely stuff. Well, it actually comes off. So underneath is a nice material, which is actually softer than the plastic material they put on top. So wire brush and just a little bit of gentle treatment. Also, the sponge can be pulled entirely off the headphones, put back on again. Do that here. Make sure we get all the plastic off the
It's like backward shoemaking.
Yeah, it's a messy job, but I like the headphones after they're cleaned off. The material's much nicer on the head.
I'm watching you get that dumped out. That's a good idea.
Well, I just know that this is happening to everybody. I mean, this is what, probably 8 years old or something.
Yep.
There's no chance this stuff is going to stay on anybody's headphones.
Yep. Okay, so this is an Xbox 360 controller from Microsoft. Bought new. We have 2 of them. And they're fairly complex devices. They've got quite a lot of control built into them. All of the joysticks and the levers, and several more buttons here and several output slots. They're quite complex.
Yeah, the motors inside are pretty funny too, right?
Yeah, you've got those feedbacks, the buzzing feedbacks. Now, they were designed for 2 types of batteries. This is a battery pack with a pair of AA's in it. They're also designed for a rechargeable battery pack, which you drop in here and that they pick up the current that way. The odd thing about this battery pack is there's only 2 contacts. There's 2 contacts here which feed the power into the unit itself. And there's 2 1.5 volt AA's here. So you only got 3 volts to play with. So it feeds in 3 volts and then it probably multiplexes that into multiple different voltages. And the power itself, I'm going to try to get this there. You can see it. You notice that they're handed. In other words, the positive is on top on the one on the left, and the negative is on top on the one on the right. So the power actually comes through these 2. It actually jumpers across the bottom. And so that you get 3 volts measured across the 2 of them. And you can measure it with the multimeter. You get 3.1, 3.2, whatever you get. That's been proven okay, except that the contact at the bottom doesn't work properly. So what they've actually done is something worse. For some reason, they don't want the power on these to be available when the unit is out of the controller itself. Now, I've carved a hole here inside this little opening, or I'll probably turn this a bit to sort of show you. There's a metal tongue, and you can see it's metal because it reflects here, and underneath are 2 contacts. So the metal tongue is on the left, and all it does is short out these 2 so that they get connected. These 2 contacts, these separate pins underneath, run to the bottom of these 2 batteries. So the negative runs down to the positive on the bottom here, and a metal piece of metal runs up over here to the first contact. Then the second one runs to the back of the second battery, and that's how current is maintained. Now, when you mount this little box inside the controller, there is a small black molded plastic pin right there. That molded pin pushes this contact down to short these 2 out and complete the circuit. The problem is there's 3 things that can go wrong. First thing that can go wrong is this no longer reaches to short the 2 contacts out. The second of which is these long metal bars which run to the back of the batteries become displaced and no longer touch the bottom of the batteries. In either case, this battery pack will not work in the other functioning controller, whereas the other battery pack will work in this controller. The controllers are not at fault, it's the battery pack. So I've tried to carve this out, and I've tried shorting this out and mounting a piece of wood in here so it held these shut. It still doesn't work. So I've reached the conclusion that these 2 metal bars that run to the back are at fault. So my proposed fix is to cut the bottom off this battery pack and to actually manufacture some sort of metal contact that would short out these 2 leads, the positive on this battery to the negative on this battery, to perform some sort of continuity to get a total of 3 volts running out to the 2 pins in the controller itself. It's ridiculous. I think the reason they do this is if this pin has to work no matter what, the pin that's in the back. If you have the rechargeable battery pack and you take this out, if you short these out, you've got rechargeable batteries, you can get a considerable spark. That's my only guess as to what might be going on with this. Otherwise, this is ludicrous. So I plan to cut this off using a Dremel tool so I can engineer some sort of fix. If that fails, then this is for the dumpster. I can't see any way around this.
I'll be standing by the dumpster.
I have my official Repair Cafe grapefruit LED lamp. And with my official Repair Cafe power bank.
That's not official.
Sure it is. I deem it official.
You gotta have more than one to make it official.
Well, I have similar. Notice that Bob has thwarted all the safety arrangements carefully manufactured by Microsoft.
Hard to do. At least Microsoft doesn't come over to our house.
Not yet. It's early innings. It's exactly as I described. The contacts were bad. It works.
Oh.
Look at that. Look at that. So, I will reiterate for those who are desperate. I have seen many fixes on the internet for the problem of the batteries, the conventional batteries. So let me just turn the lights down here. The conventional batteries in these ridiculous controllers. So, the controller takes 2 AA's. It fits in this convenient, in quotes, battery pack. I'll take the batteries out, I'll place the battery pack in the controller. What happens next is that you press and hold the start button, but it doesn't light up. That indicates a failure of power. So the fixes involved several steps, one of which was to place some conductive material down at the bottom, at the top, so that the contact would be made better. Somebody used aluminum foil. It was a problematical thing to do. Somebody else suggested opening this little switch, this little gap in the middle, prying up the contacts, and then forcing the contacts to sit properly on the 2 prongs. And you can see, if you look carefully, and again I'll crank the focus back so we can get close to it. The other direction. I love the fact these are adjustable. Okay, there. How can you tell this is a home-built episode?
It's from Shotgun Alley, right?
Yep, completely. So there's a metal rod or metal bar that sits on top here. It gets compressed by a pin, a plastic pin that sits in the middle of the base, such as when you place it in, the metal bar falls down on 2 contacts. The 2 contacts are part of a single metal rod which runs to the back end of each battery holder. And you might be able to see these battery holders at the bottom. I'm trying to get some light on this. Yes. There. You can see them. Three-dimensional madness. At the bottom of these wells. There's one. Okay, there's one on that side and one on that side. Those run from the back all the way up and over to 2 pins. Each of these pins runs to one of those metal rods. I've dug those out so that you can see them. What happens is that those metal rods have a bent part at the bottom, which is supposed to contact the bottom of the battery. However, they get worn out, so they no longer press. The springs at the bottom of the well here don't push the batteries hard enough. They don't make contact. This may fail. It all fails. So, the solution in this case was to use the Dremel tool to drill out a gap here so we could see these metal rods for educational purposes. Then we forced the metal rods forward and we took a thick piece of solder, this stuff, cut off a length, bent the ends 90 degrees and crammed them in there so they're held by force. So now we have a full contact. Here's the negative end, the battery running to the positive, across on the solder, into the back of the negative end of battery number 2 and forward to the positive end so that we have 2 times 1.5 or 3 volts. Doing that with enough force to make that circuit continuous and ignore what this thing is doing to try to short them out, the rods, allows us 3 volts, which allows us to press and hold the button to make it go. So one more time. Light. It's looking for the Xbox. It worked. The only way to shut it off is to pull the battery pack off, but so what? Small price to pay.